Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. If my voice sounds a little sexier and more sultry than normal, it's because I'm recovering from a cold and I'm still a little bit congested. I am Kevin Lieber, and with me as always is Matthew Tabor.
We're recording this podcast with the host of Vsauce 2, Kathleen Turner.
Oh, don't make me laugh. Oh, gosh, don't make me laugh, please.
Yeah, and I'm glad 3 people listening get that reference. Well, for the people who aren't 82 years old, she has a really low, throaty, raspy, and increasingly so as she ages, voice, and that's what Kevin is trending toward or away from. Which stage of Kathleen Turneritis are you at? Are you recovering, or are you deep in the throes of it?
Deep in the throes. Deep in the throes. And I don't know, kind of digging it a little bit, except for the cough. You know, that's kind of gross and annoying. But yeah, I got sick and then I got better and then I got sick again. I don't know what that means, but it's been really annoying as someone who likes to do things to be kind of just sleeping all day. Trying to recover from these stupid flus and colds and whatever else is going on. But you know, while I've been sick, we have had a bevy of YouTubers announcing their retirements. A bevy. It's like an onslaught, a slew. It's a trend to be stepping away from YouTube right now in 2024. That's the New Year's resolution, I think, for many YouTubers, is to stop YouTubing. Apparently,
it does seem that way, and I'm sure it's the calendar plays a role in this. The people who are quitting are not 57 subscriber channels that are announcing that it's over to their cousin and mother and 3 other people who pity watch their videos. No, these are people who have kind of big operations going, and there are implications with the calendar year on those sorts of things. And so it does make sense that they made the decision to end at the year's end. And now, they're coming out as out of the game.
And it seems like everybody has their own reasons. Well, obviously, everyone has their own individual circumstances that led them to this conclusion. And even some of the people who are retiring are really more like refocusing, I guess I would say, changing their programming. But the fact is, sort of the conclusion is the same, in which all of these people have dropped these videos and sort of in the past week or so, not coordinated at all, just as a coincidence.
As far as we know.
Well,
I mean, if there is the global cadre of YouTubers that I don't know who funds them, Bill Gates, George Soros, Ted Turner,
ExpressVPN. I don't know.
Raid Shadow Legends exerting its influence.
Yeah, Raid Shadow Legends funding the YouTuberati. I don't know, but just off the top of my head, Meat Canyon, friend of TCU, not retiring, but definitely changing up his programming. Tom Scott is stepping away from doing his decade-long run of weekly videos. That was something that I know he had planned for a really long time. That was not out of the blue. And then just like 45 minutes before we hit the record button, MatPat from the Game Theorists announced that he is stepping away, which is another retirement that has been in the works for quite a while since, the news dropped that they sold those channels to Lunar X. But it brings up a few questions that I want to ask you about,
before you lay them out.
Okay.
I want to address an accusation in the episode chat or in general.
Okay.
That we decided to record this because of the MatPat announcement. Absolutely not. No, this was like a week ago. You said something to me about YouTuber retirement announcements. It was definitely a topic last week we were going to do if we could have fit a podcast in. But there's a lot more to this, and Kevin's about to get into all of this, than, a couple mainstays calling it quits.
Yeah, we would have recorded last week, but I was deathly ill, and it's super hard to do podcasts when you are just pounding cold and flu pills all day. So what did spark? So there are two questions. Let me get back to that. The one is why, what does this trend mean? And, why is this seeming to come to a head at the same time for so many different creators? And the other one is, has to do with something that I thought was strange in general about having to make these farewell videos. And it was my instinct that there was something weirdly complex about YouTubers having to announce them stepping away that was very different than other entertainers, different than like an actor announcing his or her retirement, or a band doing a farewell tour and calling it quits. Like there was just more complexity, like more boxes sort of that were being checked and needed to be checked by these videos. So we'll get into that second, I think. First, I want to start with why. What is going on right now with all of these YouTubers calling it quits at the same time? The first thing, well, there are two things that maybe are the same thing that I wanted to ask you about. One is 10 years the limit on this sort of like hyper grind operation? Because let's not understate the fact that someone like Tom Scott was on a 10-year hyper insane grind. That dude made an incredible video every single week for 10 years. Like he was not flipping on a webcam and, responding to the day's news. He was like literally flying around or going on crazy adventures all over the place, one of a kind sort of experiential videos. Every week, he didn't miss a single week for 10 years. That is an astounding run that he deserves an incredible amount of credit for, but he's tired of it, man. Like he's done. That's it. You cannot do that, or else he cannot do that. I mean, look, most people could not do that at all. Okay. The fact that he could do that at all is remarkable and worth celebrating. It seems like even that person like him who could do it at all just could not certainly do it forever. And at 10 years, he decided, this is enough of that. So what do you make of a milestone like 10 years when it comes to grinding this hard on like high level, repeatable content?
I don't think that's much of a factor, and I don't have a tremendous amount of sympathy for that. There are all sorts of people who grind as hard as that for a lifetime. Doctors don't have 10-year periods of being very active, good doctors. And then, you know what? They're just too tired of it now. No, they'll go a solid 40 years. And at no point is their work physically demanding in the sense that, they're not unloading pallets at a warehouse. So it's a question of kind of mind work. You know what I mean? I mean, they're awake and present and whatever. Doctors and lawyers don't have the physical exertion that, a warehouse worker might have. Well, neither does Tom Scott. Okay. And neither do you. And I don't. MatPat does not. So, it's, can you live with the grind? Right. But there are grinds in almost everything. When we look at sports and say there's usually a window where somebody can play at that level and then, they're kind of done. Well, that's a professional sports thing in physically demanding sports. So, for example, a golfer can golf for many, many decades, and he's going to, if he's responsible and not, John Daly style, he's engaging in, the physical training and the discipline to do as well as he can. And if he's not at the top of the PGA Tour, well, look, at a certain point, he's at the middle of the pack on the senior tour. I mean, there are all levels of this, but they all require the same commitment there. What I do think a 10-year thing is for YouTube is getting older, because again, these people are not starting when they're 50 for the most part. They're usually early 20s, 20, could be younger, whatever. And a lot happens in that 10 years. Some people get married, some have kids, some move, some have a house for the first time in their lives, and they want to enjoy those things, whether it's family or some material types of things. But they also don't tend to have careers before YouTube, right? So Tom Scott obviously did, people our age did something before YouTube. The younger ones generally didn't. And so in that 10-year period, they've also developed a lot of skills and talents. They've realized what they do want to do more of, what they want to do less of. These are things that you and I kind of got through for the most part before YouTube hit. So when we went into it, we were going into something that we were built for and that we liked. A lot of others have done that too, right? I'm not saying that everybody is thrown into it, but a lot really were, and they've grown up, which I mean I don't mean to be condescending when I say that, but like going from 20 to 30 is a big deal in life. A lot changes. So after 10 years of all this, I think life has changed to the point where they want to do something else. And if they've had pretty good success, they have the flexibility to do that. But is there an inherent thing with streaming or writing or making videos that, after 10 years you're burned out? No, not in the job. Maybe in your life, but the actual job, no.
All right. So the second thing that you mentioned was going to be my next, what about this, which is that all of, maybe not, I don't want to say all of them, because there are several people who I'm really not super familiar with how old they are. The ones that I'm familiar with, MatPat, Me Canyon, Tom Scott, are all at or approaching 40. And I wonder if 40 is just a milestone in which people say, what am I doing now? What is the next 10 years? What are my 40s going to look like? What are my 50s going to look like? Because 40 is a retirement age in a lot of jobs, in a lot of industries, right? So like the military, a lot of civil service jobs, right? You do for 20 years and then you retire. So if you start when
you can do 25 and a lot of things. Like if you're a garbage man in New York City, you can sling it for 25 years and then be on your way. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you start, right out of high school, or even really, right out of college, one of these jobs, you are retiring around 40. Is there something there you think that that age milestone is affecting these decisions?
I think it's a life being settled milestone. I think that it's a kind of a coincidence that really around 40 is when your path in life is pretty much defined, right? Like, where you want to be for the most part. Most people are in relationships and have kids, and their parents are old enough to need things from them, which doesn't really happen too often when you're 20. All this stuff settles around 40. That's what it feels like to me, is that the 40-ish circumstances of life are what determine whether you continue to do the YouTubing or not. James Rolfe talked about this with us, how his stuff is a lot more structured now because, it's a little closer to a 9 to 5 than it was when he started because, like he's got to finish up talking to us so he can take his kid to the doctor. That's something a lot of 22-year-olds don't have to do. Well, life fills in through, your 20s and even more in your 30s. And if you're 40, you've been grinding on something that is hard. When I say the thing that it's not like a tremendous physical limitation, because people like doctors and lawyers and whatever, and teachers as well, have to put in this daily kind of mind grind. It doesn't mean it's not hard, right? It is very hard and it's demanding. But when you're our age, their age, the trade-offs are different, right? When, you've talked about slinging chicken wings and going home and making goofy videos for $0 in AdSense. Well, you could pull that off at the time. I wrote 500 articles on public policy before I got paid for a single one. I could do that when I was 26. I could pull it off. I could make a buck elsewhere. I could get through life without having bucks. I didn't. I wasn't sitting there, hitting publish on an article and then going to the kitchen table and explaining to my 3 toddlers that they're going to have to share 1 box of mac and cheese because daddy's living his dream.
Yeah, I always think
I simply wasn't in that position.
There's some old Mickey Mouse cartoon. I think it might be Jack and the Beanstalk where they like split a single bean. They like have one bean to eat and then like cut up the bean into different pieces to eat the bean. Sorry. That's what I was imagining. You sharing a bean with your toddlers.
Those trade-offs aren't there. Those sacrifices aren't there to interrupt you or change your decisions at that age. And the older you get, the more life fills in, the more obligations you have, the more responsibilities you have. The more you want to do certain things and less of other things, if you can afford to do that. You've got other people who your decisions affect, which, back in the day, Kevin, we were rogues in all ways. We had nothing tying us to really anything. That's why I did so much of living elsewhere, because I could. Now it's a completely different calculus for me. And I think that's the same for all of these people. I don't know about their personal lives for the most part, but they've gotten themselves to a point where they can choose. That's owing to their success, and it's owing to them having built a life that they can make choices or have to make choices about. I think that kicks in late 30s, 40, give or take. Some later for some people, some earlier for others. And also, when you are 40, you do think that, like, I'm going to exist in 20 years. What's that going to be about? You tend to want to live in one place by then. Occasionally, people want to move around, live it up like that. But that's an exception. So I don't know, when you're 20 and you think like, oh, where do I want to be in 20 years? You're like, whatever. Literally, your entire adult life is ahead of you. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You'll figure it out. Well, look, I'm 41. 20 years from now, when, I don't know, Baron Trump is president in 2044. Which, I think that would be the first year he'd be eligible, if I remember his age right. So, yes, he absolutely could be a 2044 candidate if they allow people that tall to be president. But anyway, I'm going to be 61, and like, my circumstances, I don't have kids. Yeah, it means that I don't have certain set of responsibilities, but I also don't have anybody to help me out in any way. When I'm 61, I'm going to have the same pyramid of bullshit responsibilities in life as I do right now, with less energy and less physical ability to do them, and you start to think, how do I want to live at this point? And I think all these people have hit a point where the question of, okay, how do I want to live now, is a reset button. And they have answered it differently than they had been answering it for the last 10 years. I don't know what you've been sipping, but you've got it all wrong. It's time to commit to the Leaf. We've embraced the smoothness and surprising pick-me-up that tea provides. I literally drink it all day long, nearly a gallon a day, and it powers me through research, script writing, and forums on websites that I refuse to name here. But we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. Kevin still likes the gunpowder green called Space Cowboy, and I've sampled nearly 40 Dragon's Treasure teas at this point. Lately, I've been slamming black teas like Kentucky Bourbon and liquefied Berserk Despair. Scottish Breakfast is deep and peaty, and I smooth it over with Sebastian's Morning Earl Grey, which Has the best vanilla cream taste I think I've ever had in a cup. Give me a pot of that with a hot meatball sub from Sal's Pizza and Brooks Barbecue Chicken to wash down my last meal on death row. I highly recommend the sampler packs. You'll want to try everything just like I did. I literally have not had one tea that I wouldn't be happy to reorder. The Dragon's Wings membership fuels new tea experimentation, and the Tea of the Month Club provides a regularly scheduled surprise. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description.
Okay, now here's my third reasoning. That is just definitely the easiest one. I saved the easiest one for last because I don't think there's a whole lot of question about this one. And that's because they can. Because they don't really have the incentive to keep doing this because they have made enough money where why bother? Like now they have the financial freedom to do literally anything they want, which is, start another business, grind really hard on some other passion project that doesn't have to be, tied to any sort of financial success. Just do nothing and go to the beach. I don't know. Literally whatever they want. That seems like a pretty good reason.
And whatever it is, they've earned it.
Right.
They have put in the time and the effort, and they have earned wherever they want to swing on that spectrum.
Yeah. So that's why I saved that one for last, because it seems like definitely reason number one. Now, when Tom Scott and Meat Canyon both did their farewell videos. And I want to be clear, Meat Canyon is not going anywhere. Tom Scott is not going anywhere. They both have other projects that they're going to be continuing and they're going to be working on. So you need to watch their videos to get a more granular understanding of why they made these announcement videos, these retirement videos. But they dropped both of those within a 24-hour period. And at that point, I just screenshot the thumbnails and said, like, are YouTubers like really the only people that have to do this? Now that is a really vague question and not at all a well-formulated question. So I got a range of replies. That was not well-formulated on purpose because it's Twitter, first of all, and I don't want to write out, like, have you clicked on people's tweets that are like 700 words? It's like brutal to try to read those like
I saw
essays.
One the other day. Yeah. There was one on my phone where it was somebody I like a lot. I read a lot of their stuff, but I was on Twitter because I wanted to scroll through bumper stickers of information, and I clicked on this one, and it's like, it was funny because I would read this guy's article in full, all like 1,500 words of it, in another format, but I wasn't doing that format at the time. And so I just like groaned and scrolled. I used to not have to see this, but yeah, some of them are beyond essays.
So I didn't want to contribute to that because I'm not a big fan of that. So that's why I didn't write my own essay detailing my, deepest thoughts about this subject. But I got a range of replies, some of which I thought were super interesting, some of which I thought were very dismissive of the idea, which is totally fine. That was a valid reaction to my really vague, not very detailed tweet. But I wanted to use the podcast to talk to you about what I thought about this idea in general of making these farewell YouTube videos and why I do believe that they're super different and necessary for a lot of reasons that other entertainers do not have to deal with. A lot, So I wrote down, before I got sick, I think I had a list of like 6 or 7 reasons. Now I can only think of 4, so that kind of blows. But I have 4.
To be clear, you have like a cold flu kind of thing. It's, we need to be clear to the audience about this.
I mentioned that.
Before I got sick. No, I know, but it's like, before I got sick, before the autoimmune disease wrecked my body and I was
No.
permanently in a wheelchair.
No. Yes.
Like, yeah, before I got I think Kevin's going to be okay. That's my point.
Yes, I'm not trying to overstate my little sniffles. Okay, it's not a big deal. However, it did.
And I'm not trying to diminish them.
Yes, thank you.
I'm trying to set boundaries on what it is and isn't.
Yeah, let's just be totally honest about my cold. So anyway, regardless of my health at the moment, here are the things that I wrote down that these farewell videos have to accomplish. A number of different things. One is that it's a retirement announcement. Okay, so you're just announcing that you're retiring. Well, and then we'll go through these in more detail. I just want to kind of bullet point this first, and then we can talk about each part.
It's the list first.
It's the list first. Okay. First and foremost, obviously, it's a announcement of retirement. Now, are all of these people actually retiring, or are they just doing something different? Yeah, whatever. That I can't be that more specific than that. Or retirement announcement / changing of their profession. I don't know how to say that. We'll just stick with retirement announcement. Okay. It's also a going out of business announcement or announcing new ownership. So I think of this tier like a restaurant. A restaurant that's going out of business, or a restaurant that's been sold and is under new ownership, right? The next thing that it is it's kind of it's a breakup, right? It's sort of a breakup of your relationship with the audience. Now, we've talked about parasocial relationships a bit. Obviously that's a thing I think all of our audience is familiar with. That is just part of the YouTube experience. It's definitely part of streaming experiences. These parasocial relationships develop because people have a stronger than normal or a stronger relationship in a lot of ways with YouTubers and streamers than I do with Shaq. Shaq is just like a famous person that I'm familiar with, or I'm a fan of. I don't have a parasocial relationship with Shaq, although I would like one. The next thing, so to repeat that one, we'll call that parasocial breakup. And then the last one that I have here that I could remember is series finale or programming changing announcement. So, a series finale of like The Sopranos or Seinfeld or Cheers or whatever. It's like the final episode, really. It's an announcement of, I did remember another one. Okay. So series finale is one, it's the end of the show. And you're doing that, you're announcing that as well. Another one that I thought of is retrospective. So if anybody watched Tom Scott's retirement video, the end of his video was really akin to like an in memoriam that they would do at the Oscars. It was like a montage of,
oh no.
I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it. That's really to me what it was. It was like a trip down memory lane.
Huh?
Yeah, it was a montage of some of his like most unforgettable moments set to music. It really was like a retrospective. So that's another thing that these announcements can do, is they could also be part retrospective, in which you are thanking the audience, but also giving them a bit of remember berries, I guess, to sort of leave off on. And that was another one that I thought of. Thank God I'm remembering these things, is that it's a capstone for the channel. A capstone being like the final piece, theoretically, of the puzzle. It's the end of this channel. Now, again, there are plenty of channels that will continue. That's part of the new ownership thing, or the content changes, or whatever. So, please understand that each of these things may not apply to every single YouTuber in the same way. I am just looking at this from 30,000 feet and suggesting that there are like many, 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 many different boxes that should be, need to be, or could be checked by this one video. And that to me is why this is a really unique and kind of bizarre thing that YouTubers have to do, or at least online creators have to do. Maybe there are other domains in which someone is an online creator where a lot of these boxes are checked as well. Okay, that is my monologue on that. So Matt, where do you want to start?
where I want to start is I want to know how you feel about each of these things, because actually, I'm going to back up here because I need to recognize what's happening in the episode chat. We're in real time coming up with with new channels, new careers for Tom Scott. Okay, so a primitive betting channel of Tom's Cot. That's one out there. Vibecat said that he can start an OnlyFans, but not sure what to call that, whether it's Thought Scott or Tom Thought. Both of those are pretty good. So Tom's got a future in many different arenas if he wants one that way. Bartending channel, Tom's Shots. Yeah, there are a lot of possibilities here, but I weighed in on this 10 minutes ago, whatever, saying, oh, it's not so demanding that you only have 10 years of this, whatever. Well, I'm not one of these people. I do not do the jobs that they do. However, you do. You are one of these people, and you've done it as long as they have. You've done it in many cases in the same kind of vertical as they have. We're not comparing apples to oranges on just people who have been online for a long time. No. This is, aside from, Meat Canyon is a little bit of an outlier on this, but like MatPat and Tom Scott and you are in the same, kind of the same arena here. So you've made this list, and I like that you said not all of them apply to everybody, because they don't. MatPat built something that could have a succession, right? He's not the only game theorist that can ever be theorizing. Whereas Tom Scott is Tom Scott. Somebody else can do the stuff he does, but they're not going to be Tom Scott. So no, it doesn't all apply. But you being one of these people, I want to know what you think of each of these factors. What stands out to you as being important? I kind of want to know how you would do it if you had to release your retirement video tomorrow. Which of these things would you hit on, and which would you completely ignore?
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, one of the things I sort of mentioned with the parasocial breakup thing. I don't think that's fair, because not everyone has a parasocial relationship with their audience. So let me just kind of write say parasocial breakup / just talking to your audience. Like, maybe you don't have because a parasocial thing is a negative thing. You could have a great relationship with your audience, which I feel like I do. I don't feel in any way that I have a parasocial relationship with anyone who watches Vsauce 2 videos. So, that's that element.
It's pretty healthy both ways.
I think
too.
so.
I
think so.
Yeah.
So
the community's real good, and so are you. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think, but I would put that under the same category of just audience communication. That's something that I think is really important, is to just talk to the people who have supported you for 10 years, who have watched potentially every video that you have ever made, with enthusiasm, with gusto. And, hopefully liked most of them, but, just the people who just love what we've done. I think, you kind of do owe it to them to let them know what's going on. If you have decided, because that's sort of another thing about this, is like, if you're unsure, maybe you're just not feeling making videos for a while, but you plan on making them in the future when when some new muse or inspiration strikes, and then, you're not going to make a video saying I'm done just to come back, a year later. But if you truly are done, which, by the way, these videos sort of like make that real, which again, let's add that to the list, is that this is for the creator. It's making this real. You are telling everyone this is it. That's a pretty big deal. Certainly for them just to come out publicly and say, this is it for me. That makes it real. I think that, you need to tell the people who've supported you sort of what's going on in your head, why they're not going to be seeing your videos anymore, why you're not going to be making them, and why they can't see it anymore. So that to me is probably the first and foremost thing I would think of when it comes to if I were to decide I was done, I would think, well, if I'm really truly serious about this, then probably I should tell people who like my videos that I'm not making them anymore. And here are the reasons why. And also to thank them for, watching them for the last however long it's been, because that gratitude is real. So that's how I think of that. I also think one thing I didn't mention that's really important has to do with, if you have a Patreon or some sort of membership program in which people are paying for your content to be created every month, that is where like the going out of business, new ownership sort of thing comes into play for me, because those are literal paying customers. If someone is paying you $5 a month for you to make videos and you're no longer going to be making videos, well, you need to tell them that shop is closed. You're going to be shutting down the Patreon. You're not going to be taking their money anymore. They are no longer going to be purchasing a product from you because no more products will be manufactured. So that's just kind of like a logistical, legal, ethical part of this whole thing is to shut that down.
Yeah. They need to know that there cannot be an expectation of more of what they've been getting. That's really only like the decent thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
And then one thing that I do really like is I'll go back to what Tom Scott did, and I know I made it sound kind of macabre, but I thought his retrospective thing was beautiful and important because no one else is going to do that. Okay, like this is one of those really weird things with YouTube where you sort of have to be your own advocate. Okay. Unlike other entertainment industries in which there are things like the Oscars, or there's like a Hall of Fame that you can be inducted into. Like say you're one of the greatest football players of all time. Well, after retirement, you look forward to getting inducted into Canton and you get your gold jacket and you are part of a ceremony and you get this bust that will forever live in this museum dedicated to the greatest football players of all time. And there's like a whole pomp and circumstance and like etching in stone that goes along with you being Barry Sanders and people celebrating your career. Like that is not a thing and will not be a thing as far as I can see in any of the foreseeable future, because it's just too many people spread too thin around YouTube.
Constantly replaced.
Yeah.
by the minute.
Yeah.
If you go to a channel that doesn't have a new video on it, instantly you click something else and you're satisfied. It's not like Barry Sanders retiring and an entire football franchise is like, oh God, who are we going to get to run the ball for the next 12 years?
Yeah.
They're two separate kinds of problems. And like Boss Fred said, just hope for your own, know your meme page. It's also what happens when somebody disappears. Like after a while, they're just the occasional tweet threads and Reddit threads where it's like, hey, whatever happened to them? And that's it. Maybe somebody knows, probably they don't. But but they really float out into the ether and just get absorbed in, I don't even know if it's memory in a lot of cases. It's, I think that a lot of people are, when they quit on YouTube, truly are going to be forgotten. And that's okay. It's fine, because, your role is to do something at the time of your video, whether it's entertaining people or educational stuff, whatever. But there's a sunset on everything here. Nobody's going to be watching, a tech review on phones from 2011. They had their time. That time is over, and that's okay. So it's not a bad thing to disappear. That's another difference where, you are in the annals of history and virtually everything else. Probably not so much when it comes to YouTube.
Yeah. So that is to say that, yeah, you can, in some ways live on maybe as a meme, or in some sort of YouTube Wikipedia page or whatever it is. But when it comes,
Michael and Korn is going to be on our timelines for 30 years from now. Somebody's going to see that and laugh at it, but
yeah,
but that's
the exception. But like I said, I really like what Tom Scott did with his montage. And I think that that's something that, unless the creator does it themselves, I don't know who else is going to do that for them. And I think it's a nice thing for fans who grew up watching these videos to relive them in a montage, to say, oh, I remember that one. Oh, I loved that one. And this one was great. And oh, I forgot about that one. I should watch it again. I don't know. There is a sentimentality to me when it comes to these videos, that I think is really nice, and really important and part of the overall package, in a way that a simple retirement announcement of Barry Sanders doesn't cover, because he's going to get that later, not only during his Hall of Fame induction, but during countless documentaries of NFL films. And there are all these mechanisms for so many other athletes, entertainers and stuff to, I don't know, to be remembered in ways that I guess YouTubers will make videos about other YouTubers. You said something like, whatever happened to so-and-so, or,
yep.
So, that is a thing that shouldn't go unnoticed. But anyway, I like that idea of it as well, is to take that into your own hands and say, we had a good run, and here's the the highlights from my perspective of my time doing this.
It's not vanity either. And I know it can look that way, but with a montage like that, I look at that and I say that this video is somebody like a Tom Scott saying, here's what all of this meant to me, expressing this is what it meant to me. And I think that's great. In Tom's case, it's about Tom by definition. That channel is one guy doing a thing. So I'm sure some people criticized it as being, a bit of a celebration of the self. I don't see it that way at all. No, I think it's perfectly appropriate to look at all of this huge body of work, what's happened in somebody's life and how they've changed through all of it, and say, when I look back at this, this is what it meant to me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but I think that that's applicable. So yeah, so it's all of the things that I mentioned, that I think that, maybe I thought of this list because of the reason that they would all sort of, apply to me, that I would be trying to check all of these boxes, which is, announcing the end, letting people know that they're no longer getting the product that I've made for a decade plus, communicating directly with the fans and thanking them. And then it also sort of turning into this series finale, capstone, retrospective, sort of greatest hits video. If it truly were to be the final upload, if it truly were to be the final upload, just this is the end of the chapter, or, the end of the channel. This is the final chapter. This is the end. I think that holds a lot of weight and is important. It would be way weirder to me. It'd be way weirder to me to just slink away in the shadows and not say anything and just never upload again. And then have people being like, what happened? I mean, look, man, we know someone, and I'm sure our listeners know of smaller YouTubers maybe that they've watched and were fans of who did that. And there's genuine concern for their well-being afterward. You're like, I don't even know if this person is okay. I don't even know if they're alive. Yes. And this is really upsetting.
You have to ask around. Yeah, it's an awkward thing to sit there and think like, okay, who do we have in common who might be closer to them than I am? And then you shoot them a DM and it's awkward. And it's like you hope for a good answer, but you're probably going to get either a bad one or one that reinforces your confusion. And, it's just not a good situation all around. It's not like you owe everybody in the world an explanation for everything you're doing. But if it's possible, it's good to know. And like, think of if you've ever had a friend leave town, and this is the sort of thing that can happen after something like college, because a lot of people are in the same place. They have been for several years. And then they're leaving for different reasons. Some are staying, especially, I went to school in Boston, and a lot of people who go to school in Boston end up staying there. But people leave for jobs. Some of them go back home, whatever. And invariably, you get a couple friends who just go do something without telling anybody. They don't have a farewell party. They don't tell anybody what's up. Just all of a sudden, like, they're gone. And you find out sometime later that, yeah, they did go back home, or they bought a Eurail pass and are, doing God knows what in Western Europe. I mean, like, they just disappear. It's that sort of like life level application of the Irish goodbye when you go out to a bar with your friends, which, Kevin, you and I have mutual friends who are famous for that. But some people truly do it with life. And it's weird because, and this, for me, it was back in the day, and, you had, I don't know, maybe MySpace or Instant Messenger or something like that. And you'd ask somebody every once in a while, but there weren't all the ways to keep tabs and check in and see that proof of life from somebody. But still, it's weird because those people mean something to you on whatever level, even if it's somebody you just enjoyed running into. It's nice to know there, And the opposite on this is that when people get much, much older, they retire and kind of drop off the map that you knew them on. Yeah, I mean, it's been terrible how many times I've looked somebody up to contact them and they have died because they were very old and they ran their race. And it's like, God damn it, I didn't even know that this was a possibility, but it's better to have a sense and to give people a sense. And I just stumbled on saying that because I have done exactly this several times. I have just done whatever. And aside from, telling my family, keeping them in the loop at every turn, which I've always done a decent job of, nobody else got the notification, and I preferred it that way. So, I say, oh, wouldn't it be nice? And then think back to the 15 times I've done it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, in particular with content creators, there are a couple of people I can think of that I'm like, every now and then they pop into my head and I'm like, I hope that they're okay, but I have no idea. Yeah. And, you just don't know who's thinking about you. That's one of the strangest things about the internet and about making stuff online is you just never know who's thinking about you. So yeah, it's not your job to update everyone on your life. It's not your job to let them know that you don't want to do the videos that they watch you for anymore. You don't have to do any of those things. You don't have to do that with people that you know in real life, but at the same time, having been on the other side of it, it is really awkward and unsettling and disturbing to think that person dead. I have no idea.
Truly, sometimes they are. Yeah,
know.
sometimes they are.
Yeah.
It's a harrowing thing, and as you do get older, there's more of this. Every once in a while when you're young, somebody will, die in an accident or something like that. And life happens. But as you get older and older, and those people who were older than you, they start dropping off, and it's like, you don't know if somebody is happy and healthy or, their estate is in probate. There's a huge range here. And I don't know, I don't think any creators owe this to anybody. They do whatever they want, and they don't owe.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not trying to guilt anyone into, forcefully saying you owe them. I mean, you certainly don't. I'm just saying, as someone who has watched a lot of YouTubers, man, it blows to just not even do like a Facebook post or something that says, I'm not going to be making videos anymore because of, or just, you don't have to say because of, or just, I'm, taking a break. I don't know. Jeez. Yeah. Just dropping off the map is freaking weird.
It is, but there's a topic here that needs to be its own episode, and I'm going to just tweak this topic. I'm just going to poke it.
Okay.
And then you're welcome to talk about it if you'd like. But there are very personal motivations for artists. Okay. And some of them very desperately need to have outlets, for example, for what they think. And when they don't have that outlet anymore, it can be extremely damaging to them. Sometimes it is a bottled up ego situation. Sometimes it's frustration. I mean, imagine, I can't think of somebody who would be an appropriate person to throw under this bus right now, but like, imagine you're some kind of, I don't know, political influencer on Twitter. You're popular enough that, you got hundreds of thousands of people, and you're somebody that they look to for commentary on the news of the day every day. You spend years doing this where many, many people, 5, 6, sometimes 7 figures of people are sincerely interested in what you think. And they value what they think, even if they want to know it so they can freak out and hate it. But then you retire, you stop, you go do something else. You think something, you say something, and nobody is there to care. Nobody cares. That's super weird. That's a really strange sensation for a lot of people, and not everybody deals with that very well, and so, Kevin, I know your temperament. I know that if you retired tomorrow from being on the screen YouTubing and you took some job in production, you would not have one of those gaps in your psyche. You would not be unfulfilled in a way that troubled you, because that's you. You're healthy in that way. Guess what? If you haven't figured out by 200 plus episodes of this show that creatives are weird as hell, and many of them have, deviate from the mean psychologically to a strong degree, you haven't been listening. So imagine what it's like for a lot of these people. And I think some can't handle it and they disappear. I think others can't handle it and desperately try to be and stay relevant in a new way. We've seen a lot of examples of that going quite poorly. We're going to see many, many more as others make this shift. But my point here is that there's a personal psychological element to changing what you do that some people are in a great position to do and others are not at all built for. And it certainly changes the immediate impact and also the kind of how these retirement announcements go long term too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, it seems like this is really the first big wave to me. I could be wrong about this. Maybe there was some other wave, in other circles that I was just not aware of. But it seems to me like it's the first really big wave of hearing these retirement announcements. And I wonder what these people are doing 3 years from now. Like, does anyone come back to your point because they miss it? I don't know. I think that's a totally viable thing that I could see happening, where people are bored, or they're just not getting that itch scratched any longer by whatever their new endeavor is, and they are itchy all over.
Unfulfilled.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Unfulfilled and bothered by it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Certainly, I think we've seen that a lot with. See, that this is the other thing. Oh, I had so many thoughts, and I should have written them down. Like, the other thing that's super different to me, at least, about these retirements is that these people are all stopping when they've never been more successful. I mean, MatPat mentions in his retirement thing, like, this last year has been unbelievable with all of their channels. They're doing great. They are like firing on all cylinders, and the machine is humming, and he's done. Now, that is not normal when it comes to entertainers walking away, to the degree which the people who do walk away at the top are famous for doing so, like Seinfeld, stopping Seinfeld when he did, because he didn't want to do it anymore and didn't think, like, well, whatever it was, just didn't want to go beyond. Was it 10 seasons? I don't know. Maybe my 10 number has more validity to it than you're willing to give it credit. Because I think he might have said like 10 is enough. I might be wrong about that. Maybe it was 9. But John Elway is another one who retired after like his second Super Bowl or whatever. Was like, I'm done. I won 2 Super Bowls. I don't need any more of this. See ya. So these people are all doing that. It's not like wow, my channel's dead, I'm going to retire. It's like, I'm on top of the mountain and I'm walking away, as opposed to, I don't know, some hair metal band breaking up because like the state fair won't feed them corn dogs anymore to play whatever song Firehouse plays. I don't know.
Firehouse had 2 very good ones, but we've talked about the importance of Firehouse in the past, because Love of a Lifetime was number 1 and gave way to Smells Like Teen Spirit. And that, to me, is the passing of the baton culturally in music. When that switch happened, when you can have Firehouse's Love of a Lifetime as number 1, and then directly after that, Smells Like Teen Spirit, these are 2 very different bands, very different songs, very different styles. And that was the end of one era and the beginning of another. So that's that.
But that's my point, is that Nirvana wiped out Firehouse and they were done. And this is what usually happens in a lot of these circumstances, in which someone is like, well, I kind of don't have a career anymore. I'm not getting roles in movies or TV shows anymore. I'm not getting booked to do whatever show that I used to be popular doing. You know, my tours are no longer profitable, and no one's showing up to our shows. So that is another thing that's, to me, very different about these videos, in which people are like, things have never been better. I'm done. That's pretty weird.
There's a soft one that just happened too, with Many Kudos, who we've had on a couple times. He's one of my favorite people. I have seen the whole process with him. You know, I met him in Australia when he had 400 some subscribers, you know, and he popped out a Patreon post a couple days ago that said a lot of what Kevin's saying, that this year was insane. It was awesome. It was incredible. And I don't even know where his channel's at now, but he's extremely successful. Life is good. I'm sure he's, he's doing fine in all respects of YouTubing as a career, but he explained in this very long post why he doesn't like that grind anymore. And he really wants to recenter himself, go back to just really making videos that he wants to make. That's not obviously a retirement. He just explained he doesn't want to think of his next video as like, what video is going to bang here, and then, make a compromise creatively with that. He wants to just make the stuff he thinks is funny and good and that he's interested in, just like he did when he started. That's a mini retirement to me, and it's a healthy one. It totally is a recentering, but that popped up to me, Kevin, as you were describing this. I'm like, man, if he changed a few words, it could have been a great farewell note.
Yeah, well, it'll be a couple of things will be interesting to see. You know, what happens with all of these people a couple of years from now. Really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I'm sure it'll be different, of course, for everyone, but nevertheless. And then the other thing is, who's next? To quote the great Goldberg, who's next? There are people that I know are next that I cannot talk about, that are looming on this, retirement carousel. But those are my big questions. What are your big questions?
Who's next? Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot. And we can't discount changes to the viability that happen as well. You know, there are going to be some forced retirements too when, you know, the YouTubing economy dips, which it will at some point. Like might not be an adpocalypse kind of thing, but there's going to be a dip, and not everybody survives that dip. Or it's a very good time to get out when that dip happens. You know, we'll probably see that at some point in coming years, just because, you know, it's going to happen. But I think we're dealing with a very different generation of people at this point too, where people have gone from zero to crazily popular on platforms like TikTok. They can blow up, and that life cycle that we've talked about as 10 or 12 years with a lot of people, it may turn into like 2 years for a lot of people. We're going to see some booms and busts, I think. And then it's the ones who are, you know, from the old guard, the veterans of the YouTubing who slowly want something else, or they're not viable anymore. You know, what I like about all the people who we're dealing with now, the Tom Scotts and the MatPats and the Meat Canyons, it's like you said, things are not grim for them. You know, they were not forced into a hard choice.
Well, the other thing has happened a million times. That's not this topic. There are plenty of people who have stopped YouTubing because they had to.
Yeah. Well, I have one point that I want to make. Is now a decent time for that?
Yeah.
It's a very hopeful, positive message related to what I was saying about, you know, life developing and filling in and restricting your choices because you have all these responsibilities and obligations, and clarity too about what you want to do and what you want and all that stuff. But there's something else here that is extremely important. And that is, and I do think, Kevin, the 10-year window does matter here as a general rule.
Oh.
These are all people who have been grinding on a thing, starting from virtually nothing. And I'm going to use the two of us as an example here. If you wanted to do a media job right when YouTube kicked off, when you started making, you know, goofy videos, what could that job have been? Like, what would the job title be?
Oh,
production assistant on something?
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah. PA. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have been an editorial assistant kind of thing back at that time. Well, when you grind on a thing for 10 years, you get really good at it. You get exceptional skills. You get all sorts of new skills. And if, Kevin, you and I retired tomorrow, we are not looking at jobs in the production assistant category. We're not there anymore. We're a great deal higher. Psychic Pebbles, when he got started, could have been, you know, a low-level artist on a thing. Meat Canyon as well. Well, guess what? They both were serious and are serious grinders on what they do. And one of them is making a fantastic television show. And Meat Canyon talked to us about basically running his own production on a thing. When you grind away at all of this stuff for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it is, where you end up, oh my God, are you in a good position? You have so many options. You have so many choices. So if, you know, you're a MatPat and yes, you've put in the YouTube grind, but he could do virtually any job he wanted in media because he's prepared for it now. He's capable of it. He has the talent. He has the experience. It's a world is, your oyster situation, because you have earned it and you have gotten yourself to that level. Kevin, you and I, it's the same thing. We would look for jobs that would have been unthinkable when we started, because we simply grew and got better for all of this stuff, with all of this stuff. And that kind of happens with every enterprise that you grind on. And so when I look at people, when I look at people dropping out of this one specific role, part of it is because they have positioned themselves to do anything they want. They can succeed with it. Like, you might get the occasional weirdo who is like, I'm done with this. I want to have a hot dog stand because I love hot dogs so much. That's definitely on the table for you.
Why are you subtweeting me right now?
I think that's the exception, though. And it's somebody making a really good, interesting, probably lucrative, whatever move into something that not only is more appropriate for their life circumstances, but they finally have the chops to do it. They have the knowledge, skills, experience, networking as well. They know the people to get those jobs. Whereas when we started, that's the one thing that you don't have and you can't fake. Like, you start from zero at knowing people, and there's no way around that. But this is very, very important. When you look at these people retiring, you can be in exactly that position if you grind at whatever it is for 10 years. Plus or minus, it depends. It depends on the thing. It depends on luck, whatever. But there is not one person that we're talking about or have referenced who, if they wanted to get back in the game, all they'd be able to do was read a script on camera. Absolutely not. They can do literally anything in the whole media game. That's what you get after 10 years. So putting yourself in a position to have almost endless opportunities, that's really what they accomplished. They do have a body of work that's very, very good, but that model applies to absolutely everything anybody listening to this is in pursuit of.
Very Malcolm Gladwell-y, right?
Yeah, the 10,000 hours thing is bullshit. That's garbage.
Yeah, but
that's not
heuristically,
true.
it's the same concept.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. But like, I can't, even people I can't stand, I don't look at their 10-year careers and say they're in exactly the same position as when they started.
Yeah.
No, I wish them the worst. I hope it goes badly for them. But the reality is they have a tremendous number of opportunities because they built themselves up to that. Mm-hmm. And that's what we absolutely have to see when we see any of these people deciding to do something else or stop everything and then kind of see what comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, it'll be interesting to see what all of these people end up doing next. I do not believe any of them will sit on the beach. I don't think that'll be part of the temperament of any of these grinders, that they'll just find new things to grind on. That would be my guess. And it sounds like some of them have already announced some of the new projects that they're going to be working on. But yeah, strange times we live in 2024 when it comes to retirement after retirement right now, and more on the way. So stay tuned, but not from us by a long shot. We are going the opposite way, and we'll be talking more about that when we can. That's a topic for a different show. More from us.
Old History Hub. Magnus popped this in the episode chat. Cody tweeting, "Don't worry, guys, I'm not retiring from YouTube. My finances are ruined."
Oh, there you go. There you go. Perfect.
and that's keeping me in the game too.
That's right. That's right. All right, everyone. We will be back next week. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Until then, we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and the recent support has been amazing. Sid Poke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezer Good, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. And thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Farrakhan, Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Peddler, Risebread, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Vidioger. And a tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders: Atrocious Guff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot, Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight, Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, Chelxies, and of course, Trevstead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. And a special thanks to Main Gear for powering all of our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.